Gao Tu's life had become a storm of pain, fear, and uncertainty. The moment he realized he was pregnant, the reality of his situation hit him like a tidal wave. Unlike omegas in normal circumstances, who could rely on the protection of an alpha's soothing pheromones to carry a child safely, Gao Tu had none. He was entirely alone. His body, weakened from years of suppressants, was already fragile, and the pregnancy added a weight that threatened to crush him. Every step, every movement, every breath felt like it could be his last. From the very beginning, the pregnancy was complicated. Gao Tu experienced relentless waves of nausea, sharp pains, dizziness, and exhaustion that left him nearly collapsing. He tried to ration his strength, but even the simplest of tasks became monumental efforts. Walking across the apartment left him breathless. Eating a meal required careful preparation and thought, balancing nutrition with the constant fear of overexertion. Every morning brought new challenges, every night new fears. His body had become a battlefield, and the child growing inside him was the prize he was determined to protect, no matter the cost. Pain became his constant companion. Contractions came unexpectedly, often striking when he was alone, curled up on the floor, holding his belly and whispering to the small life inside him. "Hold on. Please stay with me," he would murmur, voice broken and hoarse from crying and strain. His tears fell freely, the mix of exhaustion, fear, and fierce love leaving him trembling. Sometimes, the pain became so unbearable that he felt his body give out beneath him. The fear that he might lose his child or himself was a terror he could not escape. Each moment was a delicate balance between survival and catastrophe. The doctor's words haunted him constantly. "This pregnancy is dangerous. Without an alpha, your body may not be able to sustain the child. You could lose the baby or worse." Gao Tu's mind twisted with every warning. He had no alpha to protect him, no one to calm his omega instincts, no one to soothe him physically and emotionally. The loneliness amplified every ache, every flutter, every small movement of his body. At times, he felt the weight of despair pressing down, almost as suffocating as the pain itself. Despite the relentless suffering, Gao Tu refused to give up. Every small movement of his child reminded him of why he endured, why he fought. He learned to pace himself, to conserve energy, to endure the waves of nausea and exhaustion. He would cradle his belly, whispering words of encouragement. "I will protect you, little one. I will not let anything happen to you." Those words were both a promise and a lifeline, a fragile thread holding him together as the storm raged inside his body. Nights were the hardest. The apartment was silent except for the sounds of his own labored breathing and the occasional flutter of his child. Gao Tu would lie awake for hours, gripping the sheets, feeling the contractions rack his body, imagining the worst-case scenario. What if he fainted? What if the child didn't make it? The fear was relentless, gnawing at him until he felt he could no longer bear it. And yet, he endured, driven by love and hope, by the unwavering determination that this small life inside him deserved every ounce of strength he had left. The physical strain was immense. His body ached constantly, muscles trembling, joints stiffened, and blood pressure fluctuating dangerously. There were days he could barely walk, days he could barely lift a spoon to his lips. Yet he pushed himself. Every effort was a battle against his own failing body, a defiance of the odds stacked against him. He reminded himself that he could not falter not when a life depended on him. Each flutter of movement, each subtle kick, each heartbeat he felt through his trembling hands was a beacon, a small miracle that reminded him he had to endure. The isolation compounded his suffering. He could not call Wenlang. He could not risk revealing his omega identity or the truth of his pregnancy. Every sound outside his apartment, every shadow, every knock on the door heightened his anxiety. He had become hyper-aware, alert to every movement and noise, his senses sharpened by fear. The apartment became a prison and a sanctuary at once, a place where he could fight for life, yet a place that constantly reminded him of his vulnerability. Emotionally, Gao Tu was on the edge of breaking. Memories of Wenlang, thoughts of the child's future, Flashes of what could go wrong, all collided in his mind. He often found himself curled on the floor, tears streaming down his face, whispering to the child, "I am sorry. I am so sorry you have to endure this with me. But I promise, I will never let you go. I will not fail you." The words were as much for him as they were for the child. I will not fail you. The words were as much for him, the words were as much for him as they were for the child. As they were for the child. Fragile attempt to soothe the panic that gripped him at every turn. One night, the pain became unbearable. Contractions struck with a force he had never felt before, leaving him gasping, sweating, and trembling. He sank to the floor, gripping the edge of the couch for support. The child inside him fluttered weakly, almost as if responding to his despair. Panic rose in his chest like a fire. He knew he had to survive, that he had to remain conscious, that he had to stay strong for this tiny life. The balance between life and death felt razor thin, and every second became an eternity. Yet through all the agony, all the fear, all the unbearable pain, Gao Tu endured. He drew on the smallest reserves of strength, whispering words of love and encouragement. He reminded himself that he had survived so much already, that the child depended on him, that he had a reason to fight. Each trembling movement, each flutter, each heartbeat of the child was a lifeline, a fragile thread that tied him to hope. He could not fail, not now, not ever. Gao Tu's struggle was a testament to the depth of his courage. Alone in pain, without the calming presence of an alpha, he faced every wave of suffering with determination. Every tear, every shudder, every pang of agony was endured for the sake of the life growing within him. The pregnancy was torturous, yet it revealed the extraordinary resilience of both his body and his heart. In the quiet of his apartment, surrounded by fear and pain, Gao Tu fought for survival, for love, and for the hope that one day, he and the child would live to see a brighter future. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, yet he persisted. The pain never ceased, the danger never abated, and the isolation remained suffocating. And yet, through every tear, every gasp for air, every moment of terror, Gao Tu's love for the child propelled him forward. He was determined to survive, to endure, to fight against the odds stacked so mercilessly against him. The pregnancy almost killed him. Yes, but in that struggle, he discovered the immeasurable strength of his love, the unbreakable will to survive, and the undeniable courage that would define him as both a parent and a protector. Even in his darkest moments, even when the world seemed against him, Gao Tu refused to surrender. Every heartbeat, every flutter, every small sign of life was a reminder of why he endured. The pregnancy may have been the hardest thing he had ever faced, but it also revealed the depth of his devotion, the power of hope, and the courage that lay within him. Alone in pain and on the edge of despair, Gao Tu fought for the life that depended on him, and in doing so, he proved that love, determination, and resilience could overcome even the most impossible odds. Gao Tu's nights grew darker, the pain sharper, the fear more suffocating. Every flutter of his child reminded him of the fragile line between life and death he now walked. Alone in his apartment, he pressed his hands against his belly, tears streaming down his face as he whispered promises no one else could hear. "I won't let anything happen to you. I will fight. I will survive. For you." His voice cracked, the strain of exhaustion, fear, and love combining into a silent scream that echoed in the empty room. The absence of an alpha weighed heavily on him. No soothing pheromones, no protective presence, no warmth to calm the chaos inside. Every contraction sent shivers through his body, leaving him gasping, trembling, on the edge of collapse. He imagined the worst, constantly losing the child, losing himself, failing the life that depended entirely on him. Yet, even as panic clawed at him, he refused to surrender. Each small movement, each heartbeat he felt through his trembling hands became a lifeline, a reason to endure. Gao Tu learned to fight through the agony, pacing himself, conserving energy and whispering words of love to the child growing inside.
Stay strong. I am here.
We will survive this. Together. Those words were both reassurance and defiance. A vow that nothing pain, fear, or loneliness would break him.